In this video, I'm going to share with you the exact funding process that we've used on rinse and repeat mode with 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs. So this is going to work for you, whether you're just starting out or you are a seasoned business owner with employees already in place. So with that in mind, enjoy the video. With funding frameworks though, this is where things get juicy, but I want to make it very clear of the key difference between funding frameworks and funding sequences. So this is how you structure your funding for any given round. This is how you structure your funding for any given round. Frameworks are specific to your type of business, geographic location, revenue, age of business, credit profile, and entity structure. That's how you want to structure it. This means that there is no one size fits all when you're going after funding. So as much as I love you guys, whenever you see me giving out data points, whenever you see me talking about a bank online, whenever you see me talking, breaking out a data point for a bank, giving out a case study, just because that worked for someone else doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. So you want to take the good, disregard what's not going to work for you. I don't want to say the word bad because it really is, it's nothing bad, but take what's good, what's going to work for you, and disregard what maybe it's not going to apply to you, right? And so that's how I want you to think about the funding frameworks that I'm going to give you, so that way you can see how you would set it up for your own business. Now, a funding sequence is the cadence or the timeline of how you would go about with each of these funding frameworks. So example, you plan on getting 100, 150 to 200K in funding. This is probably going to take you 2 sets of 2 funding frameworks in order for you to be able to do this within 90 to 120-day period. Now, is it guaranteed? No, of course not, right? It's going to depend just like any other bank would underwrite. Sometimes you'll get approved for 10K. Sometimes you get approved for 25K. Sometimes you'll hit it off. You'll hit Fifth Third. You'll hit US Bank for 2 B-locks on each side. You'll get 50-50 a pop. That's 100 right there. So it's all going to depend. But more often than not, I'm seeing this happen with 150 to 200 with more than one funding round. Can it happen with one round? Yes. But I'm talking about, it has to be A1 credit and financials got to be on point. So I want you guys to be patient when you're setting this up, and I want you to think about it the way that I'm going to show you. So there's something known as in-house and third-party underwriting. Remember, we're still in the section where this is what banks don't want you to know. We haven't even left that section yet. We're still talking about what banks don't want you to know, right? So I'm going to add on a piece to this. Funding companies don't even want you to know this.
Take your time, my friend.
If you are a
company doesn't want you to know this, take your time.
And if you are a funding company and you're watching this, this is going to help you service your clients a heck of a lot better. Just like FY, right? You'll be able to service your clients at a high level. And if you're doing the funding yourself, you're going to, if you're doing the funding yourself, or you plan on hiring a company, you're going to understand how this process works. So let's talk about some in-house, right? You're essentially looking at companies, banks, I should say, for the most part, these are tier A banks. They do their in-house underwriting. This means that they have their own algorithms. They have their own underwriting software. They have their own underwriting team. Chase is going to underwrite completely differently from Bank of America. Chase is going to underwrite completely differently from Amex. I have Amex on there. It's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Amex is going to underwrite completely different from Chase. You guys know that Chase is a lot more like what we say stingier when you have too many inquiries on your credit. So you may want to put them at the top of the list when you're going after a sequence, right? Or when you're going after setting yourself up for some funding. And then maybe you can drop American Express at the bottom, because with them, as long as you already have a relationship, you know that they're not going to hit you with additional hard inquiries. And you know that they're going to be far more lenient with inquiries than maybe a Chase would, or maybe a Bank of America. If maybe I'm looking at US Bank, then I know that US Bank, they're more liquidity based, meaning I need to have 3, 5, 7, 10K in that account before I even think about going for a round of funding. I would add Chase to that list. I would add Bank of America to that list as well. And I would also add Wells Fargo, right? Where they're more liquidity based. They want to see a more seasoned account versus me just walking in. I don't need an American Express savings account in order for me to get approved for American Express personal or business credit cards. So I can just start seasoning that account based off of my personal accounts. So you guys are now starting to think how the underwriting process actually happens, right? So that's what in-house funding. Third party is this. And this is a slide that I told you guys about earlier. Maybe I was like missing 2 pieces, but I'll fill it in for us right here. Elon Financial, Total Card Management, Independent Community Bankers of America, FNBO, and card assets. Those are essentially the top 5 big boys of the big boys of the big boys that are underwriting for credit cards and credit card services on behalf of the majority of the regional banks, small banks, and credit unions that you and I are looking at. And so this entire time, Rad, when they've been going out and they've been trying to apply for, let's say, a business credit card, and they think that they're applying at another bank, they're landing inside of the same funding pool, which is with Elon Financial, as an example.
Was 80% of the cards, right? 80% of the cards is Elon, right?
80%. Check this out, though. 1,300 financial institutions are outsourcing it to Elon Financial. Super important. And I'll break down Elon Financial here in just a second.
Take your time, my friend. Take your time. Take your time.
Total Card Management, TCM, 750 community banks are outsourcing this, right? Independent Bank of America, Independent Community Bankers of America, ICBA, is 2,000 banks outsourcing it. I'm gonna let that sit for a second. That's 2,000 banks, bro. That's more banks than Elon Financial.
Wow.
That's more banks than Elon Financial. And so what a lot of people don't know is that Total Card Management, TCM, is a subsidiary for ICBA Bank Card. So they're actually under the umbrella. So if I actually wanted to put them first, I should have put ICPBA. That's why they have more banks that are under them, because TCM falls under their umbrella of underwriting.
Wow.
FNBO is another one. And then card assets would be the 5th. Now, something else that I want to know here is that Elon Financial is a subsidiary of US Bank, which we covered it, I believe, last week, which you guys should know. But here's why this piece right here is important. Let's say that I'm applying at West Banco and I'm doing a funding sequence, or somebody's doing it for me. You're going to end up applying at the same bank inside of the same system, so inside of the same database. Now, I'm not saying that there's like a con about this or like the pros about it. I kind of speak on both. The pros about this is that Elon Financial offers some 0% business credit cards, right? So when you're doing a funding sequence, you're going through that, you can apply with them. You don't necessarily need to have a seasoned account. You can be outside of a geographic location, which kind of helps. And then you don't need to have an account open with necessarily West Banco. You can just go right in, boom, apply, and they'll get you in. The downside to that is, let's say this is South State Bank right here. So I want you guys to see the difference. This is West Banco. This is South State Bank. So let's say that I'm thinking I'm hitting 2 different banks, right? I got a 0% with this one. And let's say with this one, I got like another 12, right? Another 12 months, another 6 months with these guys at 0%. Sometimes with Elon Financial, if you shotgun too many applications too fast, it'll just cause an automatic denial because it'll overwhelm the system. And so you want to treat it like a nice dance. You want to get approved for one card first, and then you want to go back in and you want to apply at a different bank that's also under Elon Financial, and you want to apply again within that same week window. Sometimes it's hit or miss if they're going to pull from the same bureau, because again, it depends on the region and it depends on the bank. So if somebody tells you, hey, we can just go ahead and have Elon Financial hit Experian twice, they don't know what they're talking about, because it depends on the bank and it depends on the region. If the bank, remember, they're partnered together. So if that specific region for that specific bank is pulling from TransUnion, you're going to get TransUnion and you're going to get Experian hit. Something you want to pay attention to. So when you're spreading out your inquiries, this is something that you want to think about. Why is this important? This is important because I see a lot of people when they're setting themselves up, they think that, again, they're applying at a different bank, and so that means that it's going to have a different underwriting. It's the same underwriting. And so if you think that, okay, me putting 35K on a West Banco application, I'm sorry, 350K on a West Banco application, and then you forget, or somebody applies for you, they forgot, hey, how much did we put on the West Banco application? Well, I don't know. I think we put 350, but for South State Bank as an example, or Seacoast Bank as another example, or even Bank of the West as another example, put 210. So now you have conflicting information going into the same database.
Oh my
And
God.
so now Elon Financial is looking at it like, wait a minute, didn't this EIN, social security number, business address literally just come in with this business information? So why is it conflicting? Which number do we go with? And so we've started to see more and more Elon Financial, they're starting to want to ask for documents. So I want to prepare some of you guys for that. It's not always,
Like
it's
FMBO, like FMBO. FMBO didn't used to do it, right? And everybody was running that play, and now FMBO started requiring the documents.
FMBO doesn't let you go past one card either. FMBO
Right.
will approve you for more than one card, but then they'll ask you, or they'll ask you to shut the cards down, or if not, they'll start shutting them down for you.
Yep.
So just a heads up on that for those of us that have multiple cards with the FMBO. But that's why that's important. And so that's when they start asking for additional documentation versus if I'm the type of guy, and I'm gonna put myself like on your side, right? Irv, I'm trying hard not to show as much documentation as possible. Like what I got to do, make sure the applications match. I would take screenshots of my applications and make sure that all the information matches, whether it's my projected revenue, my stated income revenue, my total household income. Look, whatever you decide to put on you on that application is between you, God, and the bank. Like I have nothing to do with that, right? That's between you, God, and the bank. If you wanted to drop 500 on there, drop 500. If you wanted to drop 250, drop 250. Whatever it is, but man, at least make sure that the story makes sense. So that would be my 2 cents on why this would be important.
Now, really quickly, if you're looking to have a simple funding setup built and installed directly into your business, we'd love to connect with you. Book a call over at insideinnercircle.com, found down in the description and in the comments. Let's continue on with the video.
Credit stacking, ladies and gents. I get this question asked probably every other day. Every other hour is really what I should say. So credit stacking, is it effective? How does it work? And I'm kind of gonna give it to you. I think it's in the next slide. If it's not, I'll give it to you. So essentially, what you're doing is you're just submitting credit card applications in a specific order with multiple banks in order to access large amounts of unsecured credit or unsecured capital. In its most basic form, that's essentially what it is, right? And so the whole terminology of 0% funding derives from this. Is it legit? Yes. Can you do it yourself? 100%. Am I going to show you a quick framework here? 100%. The reason why I'm giving you this right here is because with credit stacking, it's sexy. And which is why I left it more toward the end of the presentation, which is where we're at now, middle to end, because it's one that a lot of people are probably hanging on for, right? Even though it gets better. But credit stacking is only going to take you so far, which is why I want you to also think about business lines of credit and business term loans, because the way that I see credit cards is Army Swiss knives. So they get you in and out of situations fast.
Yep.
But you also want to think long-term with lines of credit and term loans, because you're actually able to get some real cash out of those bad boys and pump them into some serious projects that you could only do with credit cards if you found the way to liquidate them. And you guys have seen the systems are starting to get a little bit tighter for credit card liquidation. That's why I'm giving you this answer. So credit card stacking.
You guys need all of them. You need all these debt weapons. They're like little different tools in your toolbox. Like you need all of these debt weapons, and they're all meant for different purposes. Like,
yes.
I'll do a whole debt weapon call. Like I think that's probably really needed to really break these things down, how to use them in certain situations, how I would use them. I'll do a call on that. But anyways,
it's going to be helpful, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have questions after this. Like, hey, I got approved for a line of credit. Hey, I got approved for a business credit card. Like, what do I do with it? So 100%. I mean, you got my vote on that. I'll be on that call for sure to watch you. Credit card stacking pitfalls. I want you to screenshot this. I want you to put this on your fridge. I want you to put this whenever you go to apply for a couple of credit cards. Like, keep it in front of you. Filling out the credit card information incorrectly. That's like elementary, but you'd be surprised how much that happens. Applying with a weak or thin credit profile, applying with a business that's not set up properly or structured correctly, right? Going to banks and credit unions that don't service your line of work. I see that happen all the time. So if I want to, let's say, get funding for construction, which happens quite a bit, and I'm going to, let's say, a credit union that they just don't service that. They're more of like along the retail sector, or they're just more alongside of maybe trucking. I could be shooting myself in the foot, not submitting the right applications in the right order. and then submitting mismatching information for multiple applications, not just one. And so this right here is a typical credit stacking breakdown. So very simple framework, very, again, surface level, but this is essentially how I want you to view it. At the top, you'll have, let's say, 2 tier A banks, you have 2 regional banks, and then you have 2 small banks or credit unions, which are usually with like third-party underwriters, right? With tier A banks, I'm going to give you guys some here in just a second, an exact like layout that I would do. But with tier A banks, I want you guys to think about the ones that we just finished breaking down that do all of their in-house underwriting. So let's say if you wanted to put Chase and American Express, that would be the tier A banks. For regional, that would be more alongside of Citizens Bank and then PNC. If I wanted to go small bank, I would think maybe Ameris, and then I would think maybe Bank United, or I would think Bank OZK. Another example that I can give you guys. So that would be essentially like a very simple like shell of how you would set this thing up, right? Do you need to always hit 6 accounts? No. I found that the threshold is right between 4 to 7. Anything more than that, I think you're at, and I think even 7 is pushing it. If I'm just honest with you guys, I would say 3 to 6 is like a nice sweet spot, especially if you can double dip inside of the same account. So that's the other thing. If I have a tier A bank, and let's say that tier A bank is American Express, and let's say I can go in with a business Blue Cash and a business Gold, I'm essentially pulling 2 lines outside of the same bank versus having to do. So when you see each of these, it's not that you're getting approved for 6 individual products. You could have 1 to 2 products that you get at each bank. So now you're walking out with 12 lines. I just want you to be mindful of how many applications you're placing within each bank. It's not just about the banks. Everyone is always wondering, hey, what's the bank? What's the bank? What's the bank? They're not even set up right. Like they're not even set up right. It's like bringing a basketball over into a baseball field. Like, bro, you don't even have the right tools. Like, you're just going to strike out. And so that's how I want you guys to view it.
Really quickly, if you're a small business owner or real estate investor and you're looking to have a simple funding setup installed directly into your business so that you can continue to get access to capital predictably and sustainably, go ahead, book a call with our team down below, insideinnercircle.com, pinned as the first comment, and also in the description. We'll take a deep dive into your business, see where you're at, where you're looking to go, and see if what we have going on over here is a good fit for you. See you on the other side.
Funding framework.
Wow. I like this.
Yeah, funding framework is essentially how we go about it. So this right here, inside right here, what we call round. So this right here, what you see is a sequence. So let's say that my sequence was going to start at, we're finishing up April. So May 1st, all the way through, let's say July 1st, as an example. I think that should be right around 90 days. My first sequence is going to start, or my first framework is going to start in the sequence right here. So my first round is going to start May 1st. Once I get back any approvals or denials that I have, I want to have a rest or a pause period right here. Rad touched on it earlier, and I want to reiterate, during that period, you're going to be taking a look at why was I denied? I'm going to be taking a look at, is there any credit reallocation that I can do right now?
Yep.
You're going to be taking a look at, is there anything missing on my profile that I could add to strengthen it? You're going to be taking a look at, is there a relationship that's lagging? I'm 100% in alignment with Rad and with Plug on this one, Credit Plug, where you want to choose your relationships wisely, the same way that we would in the real world with the people that we decide to have dinner with, hang out with. You want to do that as well in the banking world. And so obviously we don't have an unlimited amount of funds, right? And so let's say if you only got 10K that you can use to start moving around and strengthening relationships, you're gonna have to pick. Am I gonna go with Chase first? Or am I gonna go with City National Bank? Am I gonna go with Citibank? Am I going to go with Discover? Like, these are all questions you want to ask yourself. Hopefully you have it already by the time you hit that first round. You definitely want to have that during that rest period, because that's going to set you up for that second round, which would introduce a completely different framework into that. We're not going to hit, let's say, the same cards or accounts again. We already have them, right? So at that point, we have to get a bit more specific. We have to know which accounts we want to add, which again, I'm going to give you guys here in this call today. But with this, you also want to see do I want to let these accounts not just age, but do I want to let the hard inquiries age a little bit? Let me do some organic spending so that way I start to build up some good grace and some comparable credit inside of the banking system. So then at that point, you have a decision. Do I want to go back in and remove this the way that we know how, the hard increase with the bureaus? Or do you say, you know what, I'm good for now. Let me not mess with, let me not mess with some of these accounts that I have. It took me a while to get here. Let me let these accounts age for a little bit, at least 90 days, at least 120 days. I know it's not a quick boom, boom sequence back into it. Can you? Yes. I'm just showing you how to do it the smart way so that you don't get your file hot, so that you don't get flagged. And so my recommendation, if we're, let's say, on a 90-day stretch, your first round, let that hit, wait 30 to 60 days, and then go back in for your second round is the way that I would recommend it. But can you shotgun them back to back? Yes. Are you going to run into a wall? Most likely, 100%.
100, 1,000%.
1,000%. Yeah, I left 1,000% out. 1,000%. So, reasons to set up multiple sequences. The reason you want to set up multiple sequences is that you don't want to get flagged by the banks or the lenders for what's called credit seeking. Credit seeking is when they say, maybe this person needs credit a little bit too much. They're seeking for it. They're looking for it. They're fiending for it. In the world of credit, and I hate to say this, but it's so true, when you need it, they don't give it to you. It's when you don't need it that they give it to you. I can't explain it. If you guys have ever gone through that, when you didn't need a credit limit increase, like your business is doing good, they gave it to you. You're like, where did this come from? And then the time that you needed it to cover payroll, whatever it was, they just didn't give it to you. I can't explain it, but that's also the scent that you give off when you're rushing into one framework into another framework in that same sequence. So slow it down a little bit. You want to allow time for some of this organic spending to happen. You don't want to have too many new hard inquiries too fast. So you want to let them age, or at your discretion, you want to get them knocked off. So I'll let you kind of play around with which method you want to do. I tell my clients, go with whichever one you feel the most comfortable with. I'm not sure if Rad, if you would agree with me on that, or if you would just say, just knock them off.
Bro, I'm 1,000%, man. You got to go with what you feel comfortable with.
So too many new accounts just opened. Remember what we said about the check system. And then you also want to see what you were approved for and what you were denied for. At that point, you can reapply, readjust, and reposition your business.
So there you have it. If you found value in this content, consider sharing it with another entrepreneur or real estate investor who you know is looking to get access to capital in a predictable and sustainable way this year. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.